And when I'm back in that beautiful White House, we will pass larger tax cuts for workers. And we have a special tax that here is going to do, I think, quite well. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. And we will have no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. And then we wheeled out a great one, and I actually think this is going to be fantastic for the country as well as the worker, because a lot of people are going to be working overtime. And just yesterday I announced that there will be no taxes on overtime.
Olympic marathon runner Rebecca Cheptegei lived out her final days at the home she built in Kenya's highlands, just 2 hours from a site famous as a training ground for elite athletes just like her. The marathoner competed for her native Uganda in the Paris Olympics this past summer. But Cheptegei could not outrun the deadly violence that pursued her and women like her in Kenya. Police say a former boyfriend named Dixon Diema Marangach ambushed her in her home on September 1st. They say he attacked her sister with a machete, then doused Cheptegei with gasoline and set her on fire. Cheptegei died 4 days later from burns to more than 80% of her body. Marangach died on September 9th, also from burn injuries. Rebecca's father, Joseph Cheptegei, described his daughter as a good girl, obedient and happy. But she was also strong and independent. Joseph told Reuters Rebecca ended the relationship with Marangach in January. He alleged Marangach beat her up, broke her phone, and sent men to try to intimidate her into handing over her land and house. Her father said that at least 3 times this year, Cheptegei had reported her ex-boyfriend to police for threats and physical abuse. And he blames police inaction for his daughter's death. Cheptegei's killing so soon after the athlete had competed for Uganda in the Paris Olympics shocked the world. But it also sheds light on the dark side of success for female athletes in Kenya's patriarchal society, in which they can become targets for predatory men. Cheptegei was the 3rd female runner to be killed in Kenya since 2021, allegedly by romantic partners. It's a pattern familiar to Esther Chemtai, a 24-year-old fellow athlete. She says she was in an abusive relationship with a man who wanted her to hand over all her earnings to him.
They will not agree to break the relationship because when you provide everything, you pay the rent, shamba yenye mmenunua imeandikwa kwa jina yako, everything kwa jina yako. So anaona if you move it from that relationship, yeye maisha yake hana anything.
Dennis Chipkongan is a retired runner who knew Cheptegei and was friends with her ex-boyfriend, Dixon Marangach. He told Reuters Cheptegei's winnings changed the couple's lifestyle.
But when Rebecca came, just within a year, so there was no more Dixon was no more depending on me. That is how his life changed. So after Rebecca running some races, they got their money, so they had to start their own life, of which they are doing very well, until just recently last year.
He said he advised Marangach to stay away from Cheptegei after the breakup. Then, on September 1st, he said his friend called and asked if he could borrow a lighter. He declined the request. Later, he learned about the attack.
Little did I know that maybe he was going to use it to burn Rebecca.
Very sad that we had to lose another life.
Joan Chelimo co-founded Tirup's Angels. The nonprofit was established to support domestic violence victims after Kenyan long-distance runner Agnes Tirop was stabbed to death in 2021. Tirop's husband, Ibrahim Rotich, has been charged with her murder. Chelimo said athletic success can bring a windfall of money to poor women and the greed of those who want to exploit them.
We are really hoping that most part of our education will educate not only the athletes also, because also part of the community, like the family, because these things are very cultural.
Russia and Ukraine conducted a major exchange of prisoners on Saturday, 206 people in total, in their second such swap in 2 days, officials said. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said that all 103 Ukrainians returned were from the military. Footage published by Ukrainian authorities showed the men draped in their national flag speaking to loved ones over the phone. Russia's defense ministry also released video of its returned servicemen on a bus. According to the ministry's statement, its 103 soldiers had been taken prisoner in Russia's Kursk region, where Ukrainian forces captured territory early August in their first major incursion into the country. The ministry also said the prisoner swap came after mediation by the United Arab Emirates. But in the background of the exchange, tensions were rising as Russian officials issued threats to the West and Kyiv of an uncontrolled escalation of war, coming as Western leaders discussed whether to allow Ukraine to use their weapons to strike deep into Russian territory.
Putin will not prevail in this war, and the people of Ukraine will prevail.
US President Joe Biden met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Washington on Friday. Neither leader addressed the issue of long-range missiles with reporters after the meeting, but Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov alleged the decision had already been made and communicated to Kyiv. State-owned RIA news agency quoted Ryabkov as saying, "And we will react in a way that will not be pretty." While former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, now deputy chairman of the country's Security Council, wrote on the Telegram messaging app about turning Kyiv into a, quote, giant grey melted spot. Ukraine has said long-range strikes are critical for its efforts to stop Moscow's invasion, but allies have so far been reluctant to permit them, citing fears of an escalation while also doubting their efficiency.
You'll remember that night I talked about issues that matter to families across America, like bringing down the cost of living, investing in America's small businesses, protecting reproductive freedom, and keeping our nation safe and secure. But that is not what we heard from Donald Trump. Instead, it was the same old show, the same tired playbook we've heard for years, with no plan on how he would address the needs of the American people. Well, folks, it's time to turn the page. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States of America should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again.
Sierra Leonean ballerina Michaela Mabinti de Prince, who starred in Beyoncé's Lemonade visual album and in the TV show Dancing with the Stars, died on Friday at the age of 29, her family said. The news of her death was announced on her personal Instagram page and then confirmed by her family in a joint statement on Facebook where they expressed profound sadness. No cause of death was given. De Prince was born in 1995 as Mabinti Bangura in Sierra Leone. She was brought to an orphanage at the age of 3 by her uncle during the country's civil war. In her 2014 book, Taking Flight, From War Orphan to Star Ballerina, she recounted being isolated from other children due to being born with vitiligo, a skin pigmentation condition which came with social stigma. She was adopted in 1999 at the age of 4 by New Jersey couple Elaine and Charles De Prince, who enrolled her in ballet classes. At 14, De Prince was awarded a scholarship to attend the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis School to study ballet. She rose to fame after starring in the documentary First Position in 2011 and performed across the globe, joining the acclaimed Boston Ballet as a second soloist while also serving as a motivational speaker. Her family said in their statement that, quote, "She was an unforgettable inspiration to everyone who knew her or heard her story."